Great. Thank you so much, Leo. And thanks, Demium, for hosting us and for partnering with us on this workshop. Um, so today, I think the plan is to explain a little bit what is growth, but actually not to focus on the things that you probably heard before and kind of like the secret formula for growth or for marketing, which you probably see a lot online. You get a lot of emails and a lot of you can read a lot of blog posts on things that you can do to grow your business, to launch your business, and that secret formula that's out there. And then when we try it, it will probably fail. So I think the main objective of this workshop is to bring to the table what we know has worked for us, but mainly from a framework point of view, and giving you those tools so that you can implement them and adapt them to your current business situation. As you are all aware, things are very kind of like uncertain at the moment. So I think anything that we can do now to think strategically and adapt and learn, it's highly valuable. As I said, we're here today to find out more about growth, understand a little bit about kind of like what business are you in and what are the things that you perhaps should be focusing on and measuring depending on the business and stage that your business is at. And then we're going to review a series of examples and things that work for us and how you can implement them. And of course, we're going to focus a lot on analytics and automation. So behind the camera, it's me, Ana Laura. I'm from Argentina originally, but I've developed most of my career in Europe, working for the Americas and Europe as well as a head of marketing for different ad tech companies. And then I started to focus my time a lot more on helping startups, which I found really rewarding during the last time. And now I'm heading Click Connect, which is an agency focused on digital advertising, automation, and analytics as well. So that's me. I invited Javier to join me on this webinar. He knows a lot about growth, and I wanted him to share his knowledge with all of us today as well. So I'll let Javier introduce himself now.
Sure. So, well, thanks for the intro, Ana Laura, and happy to be here. Very excited, actually. A lot of things to go over. So briefly about myself, I'm Javier. I'm Spanish. I live in Madrid at the moment. I have like 5+ years of experience in different areas of digital marketing, and I would consider myself a growth type of guy. Okay. And also my areas of specialty, I would say, they are product and analytics. And also I do some inbound marketing and help, different companies with the marketing stack. So very focused on from a strategic point of view and also very like tactical level as well. That's it. Short and sweet.
Great. All right, I'll stop sharing my screen now so that Javi can start presenting.
Yep. Yeah. So let me check if I can do that. Your entire screen. Sharing. Let me know when you're able to see that now, hopefully.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So going back to that. Okay. So this is the burning question for today. So what is growth? I'm sure, as Ana Laura said, there is a lot of, this term is widespread across the internet. So I'm sure you've heard things in a different way. You probably have your own perspective about what is growth. I usually, I like to do things in a different way. You'll know me. So I usually start in a different way again. So I'm growth in a way. It's not this. So instead of like saying, what is growth, we're gonna focus first in what is not, what it does not entail, and you're looking at the screen now. It's a screenshot of LinkedIn publication or a LinkedIn post, and this is not growth. I've seen across the internet that people tend to confuse terms, so it's more of a, I would say, this modified what we're seeing right now. So this is more like a virality type of thing. So you're usually see a lot of comments, people get interested, whatever, and you're generating traction in LinkedIn. But this is not growth. Again, this is more of a social self approach. Okay, this is not growth either. Probably you've heard about this tool, or you probably used it. Hotjar is a heat map analytics tool, and it helps you optimize your landing pages or any type of pages. And when we'll see what growth is, but again, this is just a tiny bit. It's part of the whole package of what growth is, but it is not just about optimizing landing pages. It's a broader scope. Okay, and this is not growth either. So where we're looking at the screen now, you have on the left hand side, where is probably like a e-commerce detail type of card, and then on the right hand side is the same, but with a bunch of information. And as you can see, the main difference is that they do different tactics on pricing. They show messages to entice your behavior and your purchase, and like psychological tactics to entice the user to book now. As you can see, like, oh my god, such a pressure, creating like high demand, this sense of urgency, this fear of missing out. All those things might have your attention there. But again, this is something that is most related to CRO, so conversion rate optimization. And I would say it's part of the package of growth. So growth is more holistic. We'll see that in a minute. So just to set the base, set the foundation, and then what is growth? What is it then? So I think this slide represents, in essence, what is growth. So we have, usually I would say digital marketing scope, focus usually on awareness and acquisition. Those two layers. When you think in a company, you have to acquire traffic. You have to drive traffic to your site, and this is a marketing duty or responsibility. Okay, growth is also have that in common, but as you can see, the funnel ends there in the digital marketing perspective. Then you have different layers like activation, retention, revenue, that one's on the the left hand side, and revenue and referral, that in companies across the board, they have usually there's a team doing different stuff. So the product team takes care of the activation and the retention. So how frequent is the purchase, or how frequent they use your product, and they also take care of the onboarding process. And then different side of the business, revenue might fall under maybe operations or maybe sales, and the referral usually is taken by my marketing or sales. They both share that responsibility. And as you can see on the right hand side, growth, it's a full funnel. So that's the whole deal. And this is the main difference. So I would say this type of slide is from a operational or organizational level, but if you look at more of a perspective, skill set, so this is what you look like. This is what it looks like. So you have growth. It's right in the middle. It's a combination of marketing tactics, data and experiments, and some automation and coding and engineering. So it's a cocktail of all of those three. It doesn't necessarily have to be all the three things at once. You probably create a marketing tactic, and then you focus on validate with experiments, generate a hypothesis, and iterate with that. Okay, so but this again, this is from a skill set standpoint what it looks like, and this is an advanced level. So this is growth hacking, and this is from Growth Tribe, which is a school specialized in this, bringing these skills to the companies. And I think this is very well represented, because as you can see, the difference between version 1 and version 2 is the behavioral and the psychology part. And I think now this is key as well, because it shares some of the UX, so user research techniques, and try to make improvements in how the people perceive your product, how the people will flow into your product, and also from data and testing and behavioral psychology shares that part of conversion rate optimization that I was talking at the beginning. So looking more at what levers can you trigger in the emotional state of a person to create that urgency, or that willing to pay. So again, this is just like a broader scope of what growth hacking entails. Okay, so simplifying what we just saw, I know there is a lot of take in if you haven't heard about the term, or maybe there's a lot of confusion around it. So just to summarize that in four simple sentences: growth is about using marketing methodologies and tactics. It's about metrics. It's about measuring what matters, actually. It's also about leveraging technology to gain an unfair advantage from your competitors, right? And also it's about rapid experimentation and iteration, and that's a key part. That's the most important part of I would say, of the whole package, because growth, it's about learning. It's learning faster than the competition. Okay, we'll see that more in detail when we go to more to the tactical and executional level that Ana Laura will cover later on in the talk. By the way, if there are any questions about what we both saying, please write it down, and we'll have at the end of this chat, of this talk, then we can cover that. I'm super happy about the questions and love to know them. So yeah, going back to growth. So growth, it's a mindset. It's a framework. A mindset, and this is again just Growth Tribe wisdom, as they call it. So it's a set of frameworks that you put in motion. Okay, it's a circular process, as you can see here. I'm not gonna cover that in detail, because I think Ana Laura will show like more examples on that. But the idea here is that you have some ideas that you wanna test. Okay, then everybody has great ideas, but which one prevails over which one? And that's difficult. Usually opinions tend to differ, so that's why we rank them in a prioritization framework. Okay, I said that right. So we put it into a spreadsheet, if you say, okay, and score these ideas based on whatever score you wanna have. Usually, in growth we use different frameworks. There's the pie or the brass, and I use one that is called the ICE score. I stands for impact on the business. C stands for confidence. So how success do you think your experiment would be? And then the E1, the last part is ease of doing this experiment. And ease is usually referring, or if you have dependencies on different groups or parts of the business. If you can run this experiment without any external resources, okay. So once that, again, I'm going to maybe to in detail, but you have a bunch of ideas, then you rank them, you design the test, your minimum viable experiment, you execute it, then you analyze them, and then going back into that process again, over and over, okay? And then you'll see here in red pilot metrics, we'll talk about that later, and the OMTM, it's a term that it stands for the only metric that matter. That's another thing. So again, we saw that it's a mindset, growth is a mindset, and growth, it's a scientific process, okay? It's not just some random thing that we just, came up. It's a process. And so with a process, you need data to collect and to manage. So we usually tend to measure growth using spreadsheets, or using any type of tracking system. And then where you can see on the screen, it's probably a little bit blurry, but don't worry about it. So I try to explain. So this is different layers of your marketing perspective, okay? So there's like paid acquisition. So you have then like Google ads or LinkedIn ads or Facebook ads, all of those. Then you have another area which could be virality, okay? How viral is your product turning. Then you have another one that it's SEO, and then content, and then social, and you get the idea. So you have to measure not everything, but just what it matters to your product or service that you are running, okay? Again, we need data to do this, okay? I know what you're thinking. That's a lot to take in at the moment, but there are better ways to visualize the data. And this is an example of a dashboard in ClickFolio, which is a data visualization tool. And it's according to your business, then you'll have kind of like a snapshot of what it looks like. And this is very important for a growth perspective, because you will get the pulse. You'll get if your business is actually improving or not, or what levers you need to to pull or to test. And this is a great way to get a sense of where you're looking at the moment. So again, this is customizable. Don't pay attention to the metrics that it appears there. It's just an example, okay? Then once that we know what is growth, and I hope that's somehow clear now, then you have to try to answer this question, like what business you're in, because usually these are the 6 startup business models, and you'll probably fit in one of those. Please do that exercise at the time that I'm talking. Try to picture yourself or someone that in one of those categories. Again, I'm not going to cover what these metrics or stands for. Probably most of you already know that. But again, this is e-commerce, software as a service, so tools, free app model, like freemium type of app. We're gonna see some examples now, okay? So just bear with me. Then we got media. UGC stands for user generated content, which is basically social media type of stuff. And then we got the marketplace, the two-sided marketplace. So you got like supply and demand. Okay. Again, I'm not gonna go over, cost per acquisition, conversion rate, those metrics. You probably know better than myself what you have to look at. Okay. But this means that you have to know your funnel. You have to know your metrics and what is key to measure in your product, because maybe what it's maybe what Walmart is measuring, it doesn't have anything to do with what TikTok is actually doing. So again, you'll have to take a look at what your business is, and then try to find those metrics. Okay. So you can see some examples here in the commerce space. You got in the SaaS world, you have HubSpot or Amplitude, these type of tools that allow you to do something. Then on the free app model, we got Spotify, Headspace. You get the idea. I would say the most interesting one from my point of view it's the two-sided marketplace, because this is a very interesting one. You have, again, supply and demand. So imagine for the Uber example, you got drivers, right? And you got on the other side the people who want to move to one place, to A to B, right? So this is very interesting. Sometimes you need to balance. So the key here is to balance both worlds, and very, very difficult to do so. um, then the next question that you have to answer is, where are you now? And what I mean by that is, probably, if in Demium, if you're coming from Demium startups, you probably cover, or you're very familiar with this type of stages. Again, I'm not gonna cover that in detail, but just taking a quick look about the different phases of a startup. Then if you're in an early stage, you probably are validating the idea, right? The business model is conceptual. You try to understand how you're going to make money, so how you're going to make revenue. The investment size, it's very low or limited. Probably about those three F's, like family, fools, and friends. So yeah, it's all about that very infancy stage. Okay, so we got a early stage. We probably have a solution already. We're trying to understand if there is a market fit. We already have some people employed, and so forth and so forth. Then we get at the startup phase, more of a, okay, I would say it's already sustainable in a way. And then you got problem, solution, fit validated. There is a market fit already in place, and then you start to have some a team. Okay, but then growth actually starts at this last area, and we'll see that in more in detail. So again, this is the pre-startup phase, and here the keys are, what problem are you trying to solve? So you're focused on the problem definition, like the target audience, who's going to be using your product or service. I'm sure everything this should be familiar. Then how are you going to make it happen, the resource and the tactics, and then what are your revenue streams? So how are you going to make money on that? Okay. Then moving on to the startup stage, it's more of a, again, validation process. Okay, so you're probably looking at different questions, such as, is the problem painful enough? Is there a real pain for those users? And do I have a solution that is compelling? then the next one is, okay, how big is the market that I'm tapping? Do I'm missing a niche? Do I missing maybe some like revenue opportunities? And then, those people are actually willing to pay, and this will get, to the product market fit answer. So all of those, it's leading to growth, which is the last part. Sorry that you have to, go over the previous areas, or sorry, stages, but this is the key part. So this is where, where we're heading as a business or as a startup. We have a stable user base, so there is an interest in our product and service, and we want to scale that. Okay. And there is like two different things. So there is like a user base, so people that are using the product, but you'll probably have a different type of personas or buyer personas that are the paying customers. So people who actually pay and purchase your service or product. And then the last question is, do you have a team that is dedicated to growth? So, probably you are at that moment where you're thinking, okay, I do have an idea. I think my idea is solid. I do have a market size. What do I do now? So, do I have a team already in place that is thinking about, growing either my user base or either generating more revenue for me? And this is key. So this is the whole process of growth. I wouldn't recommend hiring a growth type of person unless you already validated those things before. Okay, so now let's dive in, and this is where it gets interesting. And Laura, still you there, or did I bore everyone to death?
I'm here.
Okay, let me just go back. I think I don't know.
I think you should be able to see my screen now.
I can't at the moment.
You can't?
Nope. I don't know about the rest. Can
Not
anybody
yet,
say?
not yet, Laura.
Okay.
So Javi, well done. Just to give you some feedback and some love. Oh, you are doing well, man. Don't worry.
I appreciate it.
You are bringing us, like, everybody's going through these frameworks, and you are like putting the way, so showing some timelines in terms of business, so the stages of the business and relating to growth. It's really interesting to see. Okay, just to give you some feedback.
Cool. Okay. Thank you for that. Ana Laura, take it away. Yours.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Javi. And now let's dive in and look at how to actually put growth into practice. So I don't know if you're familiar with Pirate metrics. There's a lot of information about this online, so you can check them later if you're interested. But for the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to review tactics based on this Pirate metrics framework and funnel. And as a reminder, this process is not linear, but constant testing and iterations. And I know you might feel like now, like, okay, this is a lot of theory, and sometimes even myself, like trying to grow like my own business or my own agency, for instance, I'll say like sometimes I'm not constantly thinking about the metrics, but it's kind of like interesting to always have this framework in mind because it actually helps a lot. So let's see some examples. So how do potential clients get to know your brand? This is not a step one item, but rather a constant effort, that you should apply. Not just when you launch your business, for instance, and especially if you're an e-commerce business, you need to constantly be like acquiring like new clients, right? Some acquisition like tactics include paid social, blogs, content, any tactic that can bring an audience to your website, right? And I know startups and businesses sometimes don't have a large budget, but believe me, with some of my clients with very small ad budget, they are seeing over like they're doubling their revenue month over month. So there are chances. I think the interesting thing with advertising or with like lead capturing is like literally having a strategy in place. So how do you do it? And before I get sharing this example, I'm sure you know that by throwing money into like Facebook or Google Ads, you won't start selling online. I mean, immediately, unless you're super lucky. I don't know many people that are that lucky, I guess. There's a lot of knowledge behind growth, especially when it comes to building audiences. So I think the key for advertising is the long-term strategy. So let's look at this example, for instance. We work in this ad campaign for a client, and the goal was long-term prospecting. So we planned this giveaway campaign. As you know, there's so many giveaway campaigns on Instagram, but they work, and they're not just like, the objective is not just to get likes or people commenting or followers, but mostly so that you can create custom audiences with them. So for instance, this is super basic, and this is just, we're not even like programmatic advertising here. It's just like we're creating audiences on Facebook with Ad Manager. So we're saying, okay, let's create audiences based on the engagement with my Facebook and Instagram page during the last like 15 days, So that way, I think the interesting part is that you can create ads and campaigns based on the interaction and all these audiences, and then retargeting campaigns based on lookalike audiences. So you're constantly building your audiences throughout time based on lookalike audiences and people that were actually interacting with your brand and with a specific item. So for instance, for this specific campaign, because the giveaways were like long sleeve tops, we were promoting that with the retargeting ads. And as you can see in the long term, because I wanted to see, okay, their examples and their results as well. So I think in the long term, as you can see, revenue grew a lot, especially the last months that e-commerce has been growing a lot as well, thankfully. But I think the interesting thing is like the metrics that you see on the left-hand side, there are impressions and click-through rates and traffic, because these are all the metrics that you need to be focusing on when you plan acquisition campaigns. But the interesting thing is that these campaigns bring revenue in the long term. So that's good to keep in mind for sure. And then, now that prospects, sorry, before I move into the next slide, actually, we do have a digital advertising growth guide for startups. I can share it with you via email. So I think for all the people that sign up via Eventbrite, we'll have that because we have your emails and we'll send a follow-up. But then I can send that either to Leo or I can send it via email to you all if you leave your email on this chat as well, so that I can share it with you. All right, so now that prospects made it to your website, I know this is super tiny, so don't worry about reading the details. I just wanted to share an example with you of how a workflow looks like. But now that they are on your website, right, you need to convince them to buy from you. So for e-commerce, I think one of the most efficient ones is the abandoned cart funnel. And I'm sure you all know this one, and you're going to probably think, okay, that's like super typical, right? But I think it's not any funnel. I think that personalized communication and personalized funnels actually work really well. So as you probably know or heard, a prospect can take anything between like 5 to 19, depending on the study, but 5 to 19 touches to convert. So, and with touches, we mean either a retargeting ad or an email or something like that. So a series of emails can actually, and good emails, I guess, can actually bring them back to complete that action. And in fact, conversion rates can double after 3 good emails in general. So this personalized funnel shows the abandoned cart emails followed by a personalized promotion, depending on the item you actually added to the cart. So for instance, this is Vital, which is a company from the UK, and they sell vitamins online. So for instance, you left something in your basket, and that's the first email, and then there's a series of emails reminding the person that they left something in the basket and they can still buy it, of course. And then the series of promotions that are applied to someone that hasn't received or actually applied a coupon code before. And then also, depending on the product that was added to the basket, I'm going to apply different promotions. And these emails, they worked really well. We've seen a big kind of like increase on conversion rates. So an email conversion rate, the average across industries is less than 1% from email. So increasing that to 3% is actually quite good. Of course, there's a lot of work behind that. But I guess it's good to highlight that there's also activities and initiatives that you can implement that, although they require you to have a certain like marketing stack, so you need to kind of like invest in like learning about it, or perhaps have someone working on it. You don't need to actually pay for ads or for like invest a lot of money in marketing if you work on your funnels as well. Especially, and if you work on like targeting people that are already leaving something on their basket and that you already kind of like acquired them. So for this personalized funnel, we use tools. I don't know if you know them, but customer.io, which is a marketing automation tool, and then Segment as well for this particular client, which is a data aggregation tool to get all the different data from ads and audiences and website, and connecting that with customer.io as well. So yeah, I think this is a very interesting example on how you can kind of like add more personalization to your funnels as well. All right, so how many of these people actually that bought from you, for instance, will stick around? And I'm sure you all heard this before. It's way cheaper to get the same client to buy from you because you already acquired that client than to actually get more clients. So if you think about that, it's probably smarter in a way once you have a certain like amount of like people and audience that you have built. It's also to continue to nurture them with email campaigns, for instance. So again, an example from Vital here as well, like your free trial is about to end. So instead of saying, do you want to renew it? Because you probably already left your card details with all of the free trials. They will just say, if you need to make any updates, you can go to your account, So I guess the fourth, I wouldn't call it step, but part of this process is, how do you actually increase revenue? This screenshot is a bit blurry. It's actually, I took it directly from Google Analytics. And I think for revenue, it's like, for this step in particular, what I will mention is that, you already are working on acquisition, activation, and retention, which is great. Then what are the things that you can do to actually increase revenue? Well, they have to do with the previous steps, but they also have to do with things that have to do with your purchasing path, or how is the website design? Where do you see in the funnel the drop-offs? Where do you see that people are, they're coming from all these different sources and mediums. So they are coming from either your ad campaigns, and they are coming from your, newsletter, but then they are not converting. So what are the things that you can do to actually improve that? And again, going back to the data points here, I think one of the most important things when it comes to growth is making sure you know your business. And the only way to know your business is by knowing your data. And a great tool to know your data is analytics. So I'll recommend you to get familiar with it if you're not already using it, and check, there's a lot of information in the internet, and check what are the reports that can give you a quick insight on how your business is performing as well. All right, and then the last example here is referral. And I think this could be the cheapest marketing that you can ever have. I think referrals, even for me, it's like one of the best marketing vehicles, if you want to call them that way. So I actually wanted to add this example because I thought it was brilliant. This brand, I don't know if you've ever seen this before. They sell bracelets. And I think they started the company in Costa Rica. So if you think about it, the product, I mean, my brother used to do the same bracelets and sell them in the beach during our summer holidays. No joke. So they are very similar. And it's not about the product, but this is actually very good marketing. There's a very good case study on the Shopify blog if you're interested in doing further reading. But I think this is good to see as an extra kind of like marketing channel, how if you focus your resources and your strategy around referrals, either for B2B, for apps, or for e-commerce in this case, can work. And in this particular example, they base their referral strategy on building a community of people that feel really identified with this lifestyle, all these like girls that really want to be part of the staff, as they call it, of like Pura Vida crew, and they will give them t-shirts and 10% commission if they sell the bracelets. So I think it's really good as an example of good like strategic marketing, because it's purely marketing. The product is not about the product, to be honest. And for this, they used Refersion, which is a software for referral programs, plus Shopify, and of course, email automation. And then I didn't want to leave behind the B2B examples. As I'm sure you know, there's a lot of different programs for individuals or companies for software solutions, like, for instance, in this case, I listed HubSpot. Okay, so that's kind of like a quick summary of a few tactics related with the pirate metrics, or that funnel that I mentioned before. I think, again, mentioning the measurement bit, which is really important, and that Javi already mentioned earlier before as well. It can get really complex. It can be complicated, and it can actually be like take a lot of work. There are a lot of dashboards available. This one I found it on I think it's called GeckoBoard, and there's a lot of tools that you can use, even Google Data Studio, to build your funnels and have them there ready for you, so that you don't have to pull your reports manually all the time. And the other thing that is important to mention, because I think you're probably like, okay, yeah, I need to, what are the tools that I need to use? What's the best option that I can get, or the cheapest one that actually works for me? It's impossible for us to list all of the tools out there. We have a selection here that you can check for analytics, workflows, even like data management or data aggregation, and email marketing as well, or marketing automation. I also had a comparison slide on marketing automation tools and cost as well, so I can share that for sure via email. But I think when it comes to tools and the kind of like marketing stack, there's a lot out there. So I think, yeah, you probably need to do some research. The ones here are the ones that we definitely recommend, and we think they are worth exploring. Okay, and yeah, just one final note on the tools. I think if you're just getting started and you don't have like a growth team, or you don't have a big marketing team, startups, I completely understand. So I think the two that I will definitely recommend, at least to start with, or three, I guess, but two, actually HubSpot and Google Analytics. So make sure you do have a marketing automation tool in place, and make sure you're measuring absolutely everything, or at least like the most important metrics that you have defined. Okay, so I think that's everything. I think I saw some questions coming in, so I'm gonna stop sharing now and see, because
I think there was one from, let me see if I get this right, Rupam Rout. Not sure if I say that correctly. If you are, yes,
Yes, we pronounce it.
go for it, man. I think, I mean,
Hi.
yeah.
So I'm Please. I am from India. To begin with, I wanted to say that. Yeah. So I have two questions primarily. So I did understand. One was I wanted to know which business category does streaming OTT platforms come into. I couldn't actually figure out from your slide there. Also, second question I wanted to understand was it seems like, so I'm in a very early phase. My startup is not yet launched. We're just going to launch soon. So I'm in a currently more of an acquisition phase, and rest is all follow up later on. So I wanted to understand primarily goal number one is a lot of the things that you mentioned, like retention and NPS and everything, also coincides with a lot of product teams work, right? So how does it happen? Like, do you have to collaborate with the data exchanged, or does it go under the? I'm trying to understand the division of work here more primarily, because me and my co-founders need to adjust that and know very clearly. So I wanted to understand how is the division of work there, more importantly.
Okay. I can ask to the first question, then probably I need to rephrase the second one. But so you're talking about a subscription-based model, isn't it? Like the Netflix one. Like where does it sit on the like ecosystem that I showed before, like the 6 types of models? So I think it will fall under the app category. So I'm not sure about the what's it called, like the strategy at the moment of Netflix. I believe there isn't a free version, so it's only subscription one. But the logical here, and I don't recall if in the in the early stage of Netflix there was a free trial or something like that. Like you can test out for a month, because I've been with Netflix for quite a while, so I don't even know if there is like a trial version first. I believe so. So it should be like a freemium model, and that's how you frame it. So it'll fall into that category where you first acquire the user, and then as a bunch of onboarding tactics and showing the product as well, then the user gets in love with your product and then subscribe, which is the ultimate goal, that you have a paying customer. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Okay, so the second one, if I recall, it was more, so you are in an early stage and you want to like generate more awareness or acquire new users. Is that correct?
Yes, true.
Okay, and what was the question again? Like, how do you create like that?
So one question would be, yes, if any tips or tactics or advices on the customer acquisition strategy, that makes very much sense. Yes, primarily yes. But second question that I had was because I could understand that growth is a very collaborative work role in the entire business model. So how does it fit? My question was like a lot of collaboration with the team, with the product team. So how does the growth team take care of, and me being responsible for growth, how do I coordinate, or what kind of work do I take care, and what kind of category do I only get involved with? That's what I was trying to understand.
Got it. I can jump, I can give my point of view, but then Ana Laura, feel free to, to jump in or wait in. So I think from an organizational point of view, okay, so a growth team should be like multidisciplinary. So you should have some people involved in that growth process that have skills like data science, like data analytics. So they're good with numbers, crunching skills. They're good with technology. Okay. Then there is another type of profile, which is more like marketing side, okay? More of the buyer personas, what is their target audience, how to do this copy, how to position the product itself. And then there is another type of people that might fall into more operational side or more product oriented, okay? So they have the knowledge of the business in a way. And there is at the top, there is a growth manager. Could be like the business leader in a way, who dictates and set the tone for those meetings. But it's a very collaborative process, as you said. It's a lot of input output type of thing, and go like back and forth to the idea. So going back to that slide at the beginning, there is an ideation process where you have to get involved the different teams in your organization, because maybe sales is the most directed direct contact with the customer, but then they might not have the knowledge of the business. So maybe you have to involve some people from the finance team. So it's I don't know if I answered the question, or maybe I'm going too broad on that. And Laura, feel free to weigh in on that. Hopefully I answer.
Yes, I got a little bit. Sorry to interrupt. Please go on.
No, it's fine. I agree with Javi. So I think it's more like finding out if that kind of like addressed your question.
Yeah, so it did roughly. I'm a little bit have an understanding of what it means, but yeah, please feel free to put your inputs. It will be great. Thank you.
No problem. It's an open conversation. So now, everybody who has maybe like, burning questions here, feel free to drop them, turn on your mic.
Any questions or feedback, it's very welcome. Or if you need any extra resources, yeah, it will be good too.
From Demium side, guys, I just wanted to say thank you very much. Really good material. I took a lot of prints. Sorry for that. really good now, but I know that you are sharing the material for sure. And yeah, I'm keen to see if people here has any question or any case that they would like to share. I know that I see a lot of people from Demium, for example, Ida, I see just Oliver, Vincent. I don't know if you want to expose any case or real case. I know, and Giro is here as well. So they have real challenges, I know because we are together every week. So I don't know if this guy wants to share anything.
Please, we're more than welcome.
Yeah, could you elaborate on a personalized funnels? Is that like setting up a complete new landing page, personalized landing page for certain people, or how is that?
Sure. And also, Javi, you're always welcome to weigh in. Hi, Oliver. So I think it depends. When it comes to funnels, you have two different concepts of funnels. So I guess the full like sales funnel, which is when that person lands into your page, and then you follow up with the emails or like text message or whatever you want to do. So that's a complete funnel, or I don't know, it can be even an entire campaign. And I think the one that I was showing, it has to do with more like the personalized funnel for a specific action, which is the abandoned cart. So the ways that you can personalize them in this case have to do with personalize them based on actions that people took on your website. So for instance, you could personalize a funnel or a campaign by following up with people that clicked on a specific link or an email. For instance, say I'm sending an email that says, we're launching this campaign, blah, 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 and then there's a yellow t-shirt on that email, and I want to actually follow up with people that clicked on that yellow t-shirt one, because there's something super interesting about that, or I really want to sell that item. So I can send an email to people that actually clicked there and added that item to the cart, so that will be personalized. Or the example that I gave is actually personalizing that funnel for people that actually added a specific item to their cart, and I want to give them either a free package for people that bought vitamin A, 25% discount for people that bought the DNA test, and X discount for people that bought something else, for instance. So that's a concept of personalized. There's ways to do it, and kind of like easy ways to do it depending on the marketing tool that you have. But I think the important thing here is more like thinking, how can you gain traction with potential clients that are doing certain actions on your website, and then think out a strategy for that, and then see if the marketing stack you have can cover that, and you can implement those steps with that. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah. Right. Thank you very much.
If I can only add one thing to that, so great explanation on that. So there's like two, if I understood you well, Oliver, there was the personalization side and also the funnel part. So for the personalization scope, as Ana Laura said, you need certain tools that can extract that information that you want to personalize. Usually, Google Analytics, Amplitude, HIP. There's like a vast majority of analytical tools that you can create certain variables inside that tap and create that segmentation. Okay, and then there are different tools that can personalize stuff on landing pages. So showcase, for instance, like a tagline that is more suitable, for a certain type of prospect or user persona. Okay, and then there's the other side of the funnel part, which Ana Laura already covered. It depends on the tools that you have to create that funnel. It usually sits on a CRM or a customer relationship management system, everything where you store all the data. And this could happen in two ways. You store data into a system like that, and you're like HubSpot, Salesforce, Pipedrive, you name it, or one of those data management system too. That is, for instance, what's it called? Segment. You show that on the screen, Ana Laura. So you build the entire stack with or the entire tactics with that stack. I don't know if I added some value on that reply.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Oliver, is your project or startup service or e-commerce one?
It's e-commerce, and we're gonna do like a soft launch next week.
Nice. And which e-commerce platform are you currently using?
We have a Salesforce website. Salesforce. Squarespace.
Squarespace.
Okay. Because cool. It's cool. Some of them you can easily build funnels with, like, integrating like Squarespace with, for instance, Sendinblue, email marketing automation, or some others. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oli didn't try to sell you anything, huh? Oli, I thought that you were selling the business here. Okay. No. Okay. Cool. Well,
any more questions or
anyone else?
Okay. I don't know if you guys can see my screen, but I think I left there the Demium website for those that are not part of the Demium program. Can you see my slide?
Yep. Yeah, we can.
And I also, you can definitely send us an email. We'll be sharing all the resources with you. I got all the emails here on the chat that I'm copying now. So yeah, great. Thank you so much, Leo. This was fun.
And guys, I think it was really, really interesting. Nice material for sure. It's applied